Alright, what's the angle that we'll be using on number 4? Yes, the one they give us, which is 45. We can't ever use 90. What is x compared to 45? Good, because it's across from the 90 degrees. And 5 is our. So what trig function deals with adjacent and hypotenuse? Very good. So to solve for this x, we would set it up as cosine of degrees equals 5 over x, because it's adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, how would we solve for x? Multiply by what on both sides? X. Very good. So we get x cosine 45 degrees equals what? And then how would we solve for x? Very good. Now, everybody needs to try this in their calculator. 5 over cosine 45, because some people's might be in degrees, some people's might be in radians. So if yours is in radians, I'll need to change it. So go ahead and type this in. I'll tell you one thing. If you ever get a negative, you know that's not going to be right, because is there a such thing as like a negative side or a negative angle? All right, what'd y'all get? 7 point. Let's round to the nearest tenth. Very good. Did anybody get something different? If you did, let me know so I can come fix your calculator. You did? Okay. On the sides, yes. So sides always want you round to the nearest tenth. On degrees, which we'll get to in a minute, round to the nearest degree. Alright, so I'm just going to help you set up number 5, then I'll let you complete it. What's the angle they give us? Good. What is x? What is 8? What is the function we're going to use? Good. Tangent's what? Opposite over adjacent. Good. So we'll use sine of equals. This time, how do we solve for x? Good. Multiply by 8 on both sides. So we'll get 8 sine 32 degrees equals x. Go ahead and solve for x, or find x on your own. What'd y'all get? Very good. Alright, go ahead and complete 6 on your own. Let me know if you need some help. Especially people who aren't here. Let me know. What'd you get? Everybody agree? 3.3? Do I need to go over it, or is everybody good? Alright, flip it over. So, first of all, what did we just solve for on these? 1 through 6? A side. Very good. Alright, this time we're solving for what? Angles. The setup is still the same. You still have to use the trig function. The only difference is you're going to have to use a different button on your calculator when we solve for angles. When we solve for angles, you're going to have to use the trig inverse buttons. Anybody know what those are? Yes, and I'll show you what it looks like. Like sine inverse, you just hit the second, then sine button. Yep, second, then sine button. And you see it says sine to the -1. That's sine inverse. So we use those when we're solving for what? Angles. Very good. So those are the buttons we use. Alright, we obviously know this is what we're solving for. What is 4 compared to this angle? And what is 7? Very good. So what trig function? Very good. So tell me how to set this up. Good. We'll just put x degrees right now. Equals what over what? Very good. Now when you type this in your calculator, you'll just type in cosine inverse of 4 divided by 7. Go ahead and try that. Make sure we all get the same thing. And this is a degree that we're solving for, so anytime you solve for degrees, round to the nearest degree. So what's the nearest degree? Very good. So x is 55 degrees. Did everybody get that in their calculator? Alright, let's do one more together, or I'll just help you set it up. What trig function are we going to use on this one? How do you know? 13's the what? Adjacent. This one is? Good. Go ahead and solve for this degree. What did we get? 67 degrees. Very good. Do I need to go over that part? Alright, go ahead and do 9 on your own. What do we get? 24 degrees. Good. Do I need to go over that one? What trig function did you have to use? Very good. Alright. Now, sometimes you will have triangles where 2 things are missing. In this case, we're missing 2 what? Sides. Okay? Which side do y'all want to solve for first? X. Okay? What 2 terms are we going to have to use to solve for that side? What'd you say? 46. Okay, 46.5. Yes. Okay, so when you solve for a letter, you can't have another letter involved, correct? So we're going to have to use the 2 numbers they give us. We can't use another letter. So Nicole said 46.5 and 30.2. What trig function am I going to have to use for this? How do you know? Good, because the x is opposite. This is the hypotenuse, so we will use sine. So it would be sine of what? Equals. Very good. X over 30.2. How do we solve for x? Very good. 30.2 to both sides. Go ahead and solve for x. Make sure you round to the nearest tenth because it is a side. What did we get? 21.9. Very good. Alright, so we just solved for x. We still need to solve for what? Alright, there's 2 different ways we can solve for y. What's one way? Pythagorean theorem. That's one of them. What's the second way we could solve for y? Are we going to use cosine or tangent? Cosine or tangent, you think? Alright, let's look at cosine first, then tangent. Alright, cosine of this would be adjacent, which is what? Over. Couldn't we solve for it using cosine?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I want to use tangent? Opposite over adjacent. Anybody know? We've solved for x, right? So we have these 2 sides, but what if you did x wrong? Your y will be wrong as well. Everybody see that? So the reason we don't want to use tangent, opposite over adjacent, because you might have done x wrong. That will make both of them wrong. So you could at least get one of them right, even if you got the x wrong, if you use what trig function? Cosine. Good. Does everybody understand what I said? Okay. Do y'all want to use cosine or Pythagorean theorem? Cosine? Okay. So it would be cosine of 46.5 equals what? Very good. And you'll solve for y the same way you did x, multiplying both sides by 30.2. Go ahead and try that. Alright, as soon as y'all get it, go ahead and say it out loud. 20.8. Very good. Any questions on that one? Go ahead and do number 38 on your own. Solving for x and y. This is a 50 degrees. Go ahead and compare your answers. See if y'all got the same thing for x and y. Okay. We're working on 12.1 next. Alright, Alex, what'd you get for x? Say it a little bit louder. 93.7. Toby, what'd you get for y? Alright, what do y'all think? Do we need to go over this? Okay, let's start. Y'all said with the y. Alright, if we have 50 right here, what trig function are we going to have to use to find y? What is y compared to 50? What is this? So we have to use what trig function? Good. So it'd be set up as tan of what? Equals 71.8 over y. Then we'd have to multiply both sides by what here? Y. Very good. Equals 71.8. And then we would have to divide by what? Tan 50. Alright, and when I do that in my calculator, 71.8 divided by tan of 50, you should get 60.2. Did everybody get that for y? Okay, 60.2. What about 93.7? Is that correct? Do I need to go over it? All right. How y'all feel about trig so far? Not too bad. All right, what I want you to do on your checkpoint that I'm about to pass out, I don't want you to use your notes. So go ahead and clear everything off your desk. Don't forget you do have some homework tonight. It's 12.1, that quiz sheet. It's due Friday. As you're clearing off your desk, I'm going to call on a few people, and I'll say, like, Rihanna, what sign? And you would say, good. I'm going to jump around the room and do that for a second. Okay? Evan, what about cosine? Anybody? Cosine? Thank you. Nikki, tangent. Good. Connor, secant. Very good. Sid, cotangent. Close. Good. All right. Marilia, tangent. Think tangent's TOA, so. Somebody help her out. Good. All right, Abigail, 1, cosecant. Good. Julia, secant. Very good. All right, let's get started. Whenever you get done, raise your hand and I'll come check it. Please do not talk while you have a checkpoint or you will get 0. It's completely independent. And then once you get done, you can go ahead and start on your first time. Just a reminder on this, number 1 is the only one where you have to find all 6 trig functions. Number 1 is all 6. Number 2 is just sine.